Everyone, welcome back to the channel on the college process. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep, and today we're going to be going over, can you use college loans to help pay for off-campus housing? But before we begin, if you are new to the channel and are looking for additional college content, please hit the subscription button down below. It will notify you when new videos do come out, as well as if you have any comments or questions throughout any of the videos we have here in the channel, even this video here as well. Any questions you guys have, if you put them down below. Going forward, every Friday, what we do now is we take all the questions from the week and upload it onto a Zoom video and put it here on YouTube to answer everyone's questions insightfully with as much detail as possible. Any questions you guys have on this or any other videos, put them down below in the comment section. We will answer them and put the video on Friday to allow all your questions out there to be answered. As well as going forward this year and going forward, we are continuing with the James Lewis Memorial Scholarship Program. So if you want to be eligible for our organization's senior program where we give scholarships off to seniors graduating, going off to college, if you want to be eligible or if you want to help us increase the scholarship program, very simple. The James Lewis Memorial Scholarship video is still available. It's in the description down below, the link, which allows you to watch the video explaining how our scholarship program here works from us to give out to you guys out there. As well as also in the description down below is also our organization's Venmo, as well as our Buy Us a Coffee, if you want to help support the channel, allowing us to make these college videos for you guys out there. And all that being said, let's jump right into today's video. Can you use college loans to pay for off-campus housing? Now, the answer right off the bat is yes. You can utilize college loans that you get, whether it be private loans, state loans like the NJ Class loan, or the PHEA loan from Pennsylvania, so on and so forth, or any additional federal loans as well, can also be used for off-campus housing. Now, of course, the one question that pops up is, well, how much can we borrow extra to help pay for the rent cost, let's call it essentially. Now, to start off with, the first place you guys want to go is the financial aid office because of two reasons. Number one, if you guys move off campus, there might be some financial aid actually lost, believe it or not. So, first place you want to go to is the financial aid office to get two things figured out here. Number one question you want to ask the financial aid officer is, based on the financial aid we're getting for this academic year coming up, if we decide to move off campus, will any of our financial aid be taken away? Because what you need to realize is there's technically two budgets in the world of college for a student. You have a resident budget, which basically takes in all the consideration, tuition, room board, books, transportation, etc. Then you have the second budget, which is called the commuter budget, which only takes into consideration the tuition and the fees of that college. So once you reduce the college costs essentially by going off campus, because you're not paying them directly, then it also might reduce your financial aid. So one of the first things I'm doing before I'm even considering moving off campus is asking the financial aid office, if I do move off campus, will any of my financial assistance, specifically grants by the way, because they won't take away your scholarships by the way, it's just the grant money. Will any of my grant money be reduced by us moving off campus? First thing I want to figure out, because I want to know is, if we do decide to move off campus, let's say, and we're thinking we're going to save a bunch of money because, let's call it the housing cost is $10,000. And we're moving in with a bunch of friends, and over the course of the 12 months, I'm paying $500 or $600 a month, so I'm only paying, let's say, $6,000 or $7,200, so I'm saving $3 or $4 grand here. But if it turns out after you talk to financial aid that they're going to take your grant, let's say you do have a grant, and they're going to reduce it by more than the rent is saved, then it might not make any sense to move off campus just yet. Just things to think about before you decide to move off campus. Because I see this error made a lot, unfortunately, where students think, okay, and families as well, we're going to move off campus, save a bunch of money, and it turns out you're not going to save any money because they're going to reduce all your financial assistance on the grant side to either basically equal what you would be paying if you're on campus, or actually lose money because you're moving off campus. So, first thing you want to do, whenever you're considering moving off campus, is always checking to see what are the financial aid implications. Now, the second thing you want to do is when you go to the financial aid office, the second question you want to ask them here is, if I do move off campus, what is my commuter budget? Now, once again, as I mentioned to you guys before, there's a resident budget and a commuter budget. Both these budgets, believe it or not, have a transportation and housing component. This is why it's so important to know these things. Let me give you an example. Let's say as a commuter, the cost of attendance to attend that college is $40,000. Just using even numbers to make it be easy for everyone to kind of understand. Let's say a school gives you no financial assistance. So essentially we can borrow up to the $40,000 from a loan because up to the cost of attendance is what they're going to let us borrow. Now the question you want to ask the financial aid office is, what is my cost of attendance as a commuter? Why it's so important is because you want to know what are the direct costs my loan is going to be going to you guys, and the indirect cost the loan is going to be going to me. So let me explain how this works. At the college, when you have the cost of attendance, there's specific cost of that loan that you are taking out, let's call it the $40,000 again, that go directly to the school. So let's just say that the school's cost of attendance, breakdown-wise, let's say their tuition is $25,000. Let's say their fees are $5,000, including everything else, labs, parking fees, so on and so forth. So that means you have $10,000 of indirect cost available. That $10,000 is typically the book, the transportation, and the room and board cost as a commuter. So what that basically means is the school costs $40,000, cost of attendance. Their direct cost, what we're paying directly to them, is $30,000, which means what we have left over in indirect cost that we can utilize is $10,000. So essentially what that allows you to understand is if we take out the whole $40,000 loan, $30,000 goes to the college. The $10,000 will then be refunded back to me, which then I can utilize, i.e. the family for the student can utilize for the rent, the books, and transportation. So that gives you kind of an idea of how to kind of basically put your steps together. Now what you want to consider and you also want to think about throughout this whole process too is if you're utilizing a loan given to the school, then refunded back to your student to pay for rent, those loan funds will typically not be available the moment school starts. So things to think about as you go through this process. Because if guys are moving off campus, essentially what's going to happen is you have the first month, the security deposit, and everything else that you would have to come up with first. What will happen is typically when a school refunds your student back money based on having too much aid, i.e. the loan funds available, they will also cut that loan in half, by the way. $5,000 in the fall and $5,000 in the spring. So you need to kind of budget yourself with that consideration as well. Also, if you're going up front and paying for the rental, let's say starting August, most loans, when they go through the school, will not be essentially pulled in and essentially what's called certified until typically the first week of October in the fall, which means that September rent and maybe even the October rent will be covered by you before you get the refund back from the school, by the way. You can also check, a third thing to check here with the financial aid office is, when do they typically give out refund checks for the fall and spring, so that way you guys can kind of detail and make sure you're budgeting properly so you don't run into, let's say, October, you have no rent money, the refund hasn't come back, and you have a landlord issue, let's call it. Same thing with the spring. The spring refunds don't typically come back into the first week of February. So obviously if you have to pay the January and February rents, it's something to consider. You're going to have the money in hand beforehand. And of course, when the loan comes in, you get refunded. In a weird way, you kind of get the money back, let's call it. Okay? But just things to think about as you go through this whole process. So yes, you can take out a loan for the college to help pay for off-campus housing. And other than that, thank you for watching today's video. Once again, if you have any questions going forward, put them down below in the comment section. Every Friday, once again, we are running on Friday, the Friday Answering Questions video here, every Friday going forward. So any questions you guys leave on the channel, we will be answering it going forward every Friday in a video format to give you guys detailed information about how you're to give you detailed information and answers to all the questions you guys leave here on the channel. Other than that, on the screen is my contact information. If you guys have any questions, if you need any help with the financial aid or admissions process, you can reach me by text message, cell phone, or email. Either way is fine. I do sit down with families on a one-on-one basis to help out with your situation. So if you need help, once again, please feel free to reach out. Other than that, thank you for watching today's video.